The vast emptiness of space surrounded the human research vessel Horizon as it drifted through the Orion sector. HFY Park stood on the bridge, her dark eyes fixed on the starfield beyond the viewing port. As commander, she'd led her crew of 30 researchers and scientists through 6 months of peaceful exploration. "Captain, I'm picking up unusual readings," called out Tae-ho Kim from his station, fingers dancing across the holographic display. "Energy signatures unlike anything in our database." HFY frowned. "Origin? Multiple sources. They're..." Tae-ho's voice faltered. "They're surrounding us." Before HFY could respond, the ship shuddered violently. Emergency lights flashed as the artificial gravity flickered. Through the viewing port, massive ships materialized from what seemed like nowhere, their hulls glinting with an iridescent metallic sheen unlike any human vessel. "Shields at maximum," HFY ordered, but she knew their research vessel wasn't built for combat. "Send out emergency broadcasts on all frequencies. Make it clear we're non-hostile." The communications officer worked frantically. "No response, Captain. They're jamming our long-range signals." Another blast rocked the ship more powerful than the first. Systems throughout the horizon began failing as the unknown vessels closed in. "They're deploying some kind of energy net," reported Tae-ho, his voice steady despite the fear in his eyes. "Our engines are shutting down." HFY grabbed the ship-wide comm. "All personnel, this is Commander Park. Prepare for possible boarding. This is not a drill." She turned to her, "Security Chief. Arm the crew. Standard protocols for first contact, but be ready for anything." The security team distributed the limited weapons they had on board, mostly non-lethal devices meant for self-defense against wild animals during planetary exploration. HFY knew these would likely be useless against a civilization capable of the technology currently surrounding them. When the boarding came, it happened with frightening efficiency. The hull breached in 6 different locations simultaneously. The security feeds showed bizarre creatures pouring into the corridors. Tall, insect-like beings with gleaming exoskeletons that seemed to shift colors in the light. Their multiple limbs moved with precise coordination as they methodically subdued the human crew. "They're heading for the bridge," warned the security chief just before the doors hissed open. The creatures that entered moved with eerie grace. Their bodies resembled mantises standing upright with 4 arms and 2 legs. What HFY assumed were eyes glittered like black gemstones in their angular heads. The crew's weapons proved completely ineffective. The energy pulses simply dissipated against the creature's natural armor. Within minutes, the bridge crew was subdued, not through violence, but through some kind of paralyzing field the aliens projected from devices attached to their upper limbs. HFY found herself unable to move, though fully conscious, as the beings examined them with what appeared to be scientific curiosity. Hours later, HFY awoke in a sterile chamber alongside several of her crew. The walls pulsed with an organic light that cast everyone in a sickly glow. Her executive officer, Sunmi Kang, lay nearby, already conscious. "Captain," Sunmi whispered, "they've taken us aboard their ship. The rest of the crew is being held in similar chambers throughout this section." HFY tried to sit up, fighting against a wave of dizziness. "Any casualties?" "None reported yet. They seem more interested in studying us than harming us." A panel in the wall slid open, and one of the insectoid beings entered, accompanied by 2 others. This one's exoskeleton had markings the others lacked, perhaps denoting rank or function. It carried what looked like advanced scanning equipment. The creature approached and made a series of clicking sounds that reverberated through the chamber. A moment later, a mechanical voice translated, "Your species is unknown to the Terok Empire. You will be examined for threat assessment before the conquest begins." HFY's blood ran cold. "We are peaceful explorers. Earth has no quarrel with your people." The being, apparently called a Terok, tilted its head. "Earth, your origin world. Its location has been extracted from your ship's databases. Preliminary. Analysis shows your species possesses minimal defensive capabilities and fragile external coverings instead of proper armor." It gestured to HFY's skin. "The invasion fleet departs for Earth in 14 cycles. Invasion? Sunmi gasped. We've done nothing to provoke you. The lead Tarok, who later identified himself as Krith, chief scientist of the Imperial fleet, made what might have been a dismissive gesture. Provocation is irrelevant. The Tarok Empire expands. Resources are claimed. Species are catalogued. Resistance is futile due to your obvious biological inferiority. Over the next several days, the human captives were subjected to various non-invasive scans and tests. Jihai noticed the Tarok seemed reluctant to touch them directly, always using tools or wearing additional protective layers when physical contact was necessary. During one examination, a junior Tarok scientist accidentally brushed against Tai-Ho's arm. The alien recoiled instantly, making distressed clicking sounds and rubbing the contact point against a sanitizing station. That night, as the humans huddled together in their holding cell, Tai-Ho shared his observation. Did you see how it reacted when it touched me? There's something about us they find uncomfortable or maybe even harmful. Jihai considered this. They keep calling us biologically inferior because we don't have exoskeletons, but they avoid touching our skin. That could be significant. If we could find a way to use that, whispered Sunmi, we might have a chance to escape and warn Earth. Jihai nodded grimly. That's exactly what we need to do. Because right now, Earth has no idea what's coming, and from what I've seen of their technology, our conventional weapons won't even scratch these Taroks. As the massive Tarok invasion fleet prepared to jump toward Earth, Jihai and her crew began carefully testing their theory, knowing they were the only hope for humanity's survival against an enemy that considered them nothing more than weak, soft-skinned creatures unworthy of concern. What the Taroks didn't realize was that sometimes the most effective armor isn't what you can see. Tai-Ho Kim pressed himself against the wall of the holding cell, counting the seconds between guard rotations. After 3 days of careful observation, he'd mapped out their patterns. The Taroks were nothing if not precise. Every guard change happened exactly on schedule. Every meal delivery followed the same procedure. Every examination occurred at predetermined intervals. 3 minutes until the next patrol, he whispered, to Jihai, who nodded silently. The cell they shared with 4 other crew members was designed to hold creatures with exoskeletons, not humans. There was a small gap between the floor and the door, not large enough to escape through but perfect for Tai-Ho's experiment. He pulled out a small strip of fabric torn from his uniform sleeve. Earlier, he had wiped it across his forehead and neck, collecting sweat and skin cells. Now he carefully slid it into position where the next guard would step. I still think this is risky, whispered Sunmi from her corner. If they realize what we're doing, they'll do what? Put us in prison? Study us? Plan to invade our planet? Jihai's voice was calm, but firm. We've got nothing to lose. The familiar click-clack of Tarok limbs against the corridor floor silenced their conversation. The guard approached, its exoskeleton shifting through shades of blue and green. A trait they'd learned indicated routine status. Nothing unusual. The moment the guard's foot touched the fabric, the reaction was immediate and dramatic. The Tarok let out a high-pitched screech, its body convulsing as it stumbled backward. The colors on its exoskeleton flashed rapidly between yellow and red, patterns they'd come to recognize as distress signals. The guard frantically rubbed its affected limb against the sanitizing station outside their cell. Tai-Ho's eyes widened. It's stronger than I thought. Something about us, about our biology, hurts them. Not just discomfort, Jihai observed. Look at how it's reacting, that's pain. Within minutes, more Taroks arrived, including Krith, the chief scientist. They kept their distance from the cell entrance, using extended tools to retrieve the seemingly innocent piece of fabric. The specimens have attempted to deploy a biological agent, Krith announced to his subordinates. Increase containment protocols. No direct contact permitted. After the Taroks left, the humans gathered in a close circle. It's not a biological agent, at least not in the way they think, Tai-Ho explained. It's just us. Our natural skin oils, bacteria, maybe even our pheromones. Something in our normal human biochemistry is toxic or irritating to their physiology. That could be our advantage, said Jihai. But we need more information, and we need to get a message to Earth. Back on Earth, Dr. Hae-Un Lee stared at the star charts projected above her desk at the Global Defense Initiative headquarters. The mysterious disappearance of the research vessel Horizon had triggered emergency protocols worldwide. Then, 3 days ago, their deep space monitoring stations had detected a massive fleet of unknown origin heading directly toward Earth. The projected arrival time? She asked the military officer standing beside her. 2 weeks, maybe less, replied General Yoon. Every weapon system on the planet is being prepped, but honestly, Doctor, if these beings can cross interstellar space in ships that size— Ha-Un nodded grimly. She understood the implication. Earth's defenses might be woefully inadequate against such advanced technology. We need to think differently, she said, pulling up the limited scan data they had of the approaching fleet. These aren't human vessels. They weren't built by human minds or for human bodies. Their weaknesses won't be our weaknesses. What are you suggesting, Doctor? That perhaps our best defense isn't technological at all, Ha-Un replied, her mind racing through possibilities. Throughout Earth's history, when different populations encountered each other for the first time, the greatest damage often came not from weapons but from biology, from microbes and viruses that one group had immunity to, but the other didn't. Shimwai pulled up a new holographic display showing microscopic images. Humans are walking ecosystems. Our bodies host trillions of microorganisms, bacteria, fungi, viruses, that evolved with us. They're harmless to us, even beneficial, but to an alien biology. General Yoon leaned forward, intrigued. You think our germs could be weapons? I think we need to consider every possibility, Ha-Un said cautiously. Gather me a team of xenobiologists, microbiologists, and biochemists. If we can construct theoretical models of how these aliens might differ from Earth life. Days passed in the Tarak holding cells. The aliens had increased security but also seemed more hesitant to approach the humans. Jihai and her crew used this to their advantage, carefully observing and testing. During one examination, Taeho managed to glimpse the Tarak's scientific readings on a nearby screen. Though he couldn't read their language, the molecular structures displayed were clear enough. They're analyzing the compounds in our skin secretions, he told the others later, focusing specifically on our microbiome, the bacteria that live on human skin. Everyone has different bacteria on their skin, right? Asked Sunmi. That might explain why they react more strongly to some of us than others. Jihai had noticed this too. The Tarak seemed particularly averse to Taeho and one of the other engineers, both of whom worked extensively with their hands and rarely used the antibacterial products common among the science team. We need to find a way to communicate with Earth, Jihai said. The Taraks monitor everything we say in here, but maybe there's a way to access their communication systems. Their opportunity came unexpectedly. A minor power fluctuation affected the ship's systems, briefly disabling the locks on their cell door. Jihi and Taiho slipped out while the others created a distraction. The communication hub should be this way, Jihai whispered, following the mental map she'd constructed during their transfers between examination rooms. They moved silently through the strange corridors, hiding whenever Tarak guards approached. The alien architecture was both beautiful and unsettling. Organic curves blended with crystalline structures, all pulsing with that same eerie light. When they reached the communication center, Taeho worked quickly to understand the alien technology. Years of engineering experience helped him identify patterns in the unfamiliar systems. I think I can send a tight beam transmission, he said, hands moving across the control surfaces. But we'll need to encode it, or they'll detect the content. Jihai nodded. Send everything we've learned about their reaction to human biology. Dr. Lee will understand. She's the best xenobiologist on Earth. Taeho created a data packet disguised as routine system diagnostics, embedding their findings in what would appear to the Taraks as meaningless technical noise. With a final command, he sent the message hurtling through space toward Earth. It's done, he whispered. Now we pray it reaches them in time. The moment didn't last. Alarm signals blared throughout the ship as the Taraks detected the unauthorized transmission. Jihai and Taeho ran, but there was nowhere to go on the massive alien vessel. They were surrounded within minutes. Tarok guards keeping careful distance while training their paralyzing weapons on the humans. Krith approached, protected by some kind of force field. Your attempt to contact your world is futile. The invasion fleet is already underway. Then why do you look worried, Krith? Jihai asked calmly, noticing the scientist's agitated coloration. You've discovered something about us that concerns you, haven't you? The Tarok scientist's mandibles clicked rapidly. A gesture they'd learned indicated nervousness. Your biology is unusual, but the Empire has conquered thousands of species. Yours will be no different. As the guards led them back to their cell, Teho managed to whisper to Jihai. Did you see how he reacted? They're afraid of something about us. Jihai nodded slightly. Then we've given Earth a fighting chance. All they need to do is figure out what that something is. Dr. Hyun. Lee hadn't left her laboratory in 3 days. Coffee cups littered her workspace and her eyes burned from staring at microscopes and holographic displays. The encrypted message from the horizon had arrived just in time, containing data that changed everything about Earth's defense strategy. Play it again, she told her assistant, rubbing her tired eyes. The recording flickered to life. Commander Jihai's face tense but determined, speaking quickly. The Taroks avoid direct contact with human skin. Their exoskeletons seem to react negatively to something in our biochemistry. Engineer Kim has included all the data we've gathered. This may be our only advantage. Howen scrolled through the attached files, molecular structures, observed reactions, and Teho's brilliant analysis of the Tarok biology based on limited observations. They're like nothing we've seen before, she murmured. Silicon-based, rather than carbon. Their biochemistry would be completely alien to ours. Her assistant Junho looked up from his own workstation. Which means our biochemistry is completely alien to theirs. Exactly. Haun pulled up a new set of images, microscopic photographs of human skin samples teeming with bacteria. Humans evolved alongside countless microorganisms. Our skin alone hosts thousands of bacterial species, fungi, mites, and other microscopic life. We don't even notice them. She selected one particular image and enlarged it. This is Staphylococcus epidermidis, one of the most common bacteria on human skin. Completely harmless to us, in fact, it helps protect us from harmful pathogens. But to a silicon-based life form, with an entirely different biochemistry, it could be toxic, Junho realized, his eyes widening. Not just toxic. These bacteria produce compounds that might act as solvents against their exoskeletons. And it's not just one species. It's the combination of hundreds of different microorganisms producing different compounds. Ha Yun straightened up, a new energy in her movements despite her exhaustion. Get me General Yoon. We need to set up large-scale testing immediately. Within hours, the laboratory had transformed into a hub of frantic activity. Volunteers from around the world submitted skin samples as scientists isolated and tested different bacterial strains. Using the Tarok biological data from Teho's transmission, they created synthetic analogs of Tarok exoskeleton material. The results exceeded even Hayun's expectations. Look at this, she said, showing General Yoon a time-lapse video. The sample of synthetic Tarok material was dissolving before their eyes when exposed to a concentration of human skin bacteria. How long did that take? The general asked. 20 minutes at this concentration, but we can enhance it. Ha-Yun's fingers flew across her tablet. We've identified 12 bacterial species that produce the most potent effect. If we culture these specifically and create a concentrated solution, General Yoon's normally stoic expression broke into a slight smile. Dr. Lee, are you telling me that the most advanced defense against these aliens is human sweat? Not exactly sweat, but the microbiome that lives on our skin. Yes. She couldn't help smiling back. It's elegant, isn't it? They came expecting to find a vulnerable species with soft exteriors instead of proper armor. They never considered that our weakness might be our greatest strength. How quickly can we weaponize this? Ha-Yun's smile faded. That's the challenge. We can't simply manufacture these bacteria in time. They're part of complex microbiomes that differ from person to person. Our best approach is to use what we already have, humans themselves. Back on the Terok vessel, Jihai and her crew had been placed in more secure containment. Their captors now wore protective coverings when approaching the humans, and the examinations had become more invasive as the Teroks desperately tried to understand the threat these soft-bodied creatures posed. "They're worried," Jihai whispered to her crew during a brief moment when they were alone. "Did you see the new protection they're using? They're afraid of us now." Teho nodded. "I think our message got through. They've increased security around the communication systems, and I overheard 2 guards clicking about contamination protocols for the invasion force. We need to use their fear," Sunmi suggested. "If they're already nervous about contamination." Jihai's eyes lit up. "We need to stage a full biohazard event. Make them think we're far more dangerous than they realized." They worked quickly, using the limited resources they had. Several crew members had managed to smuggle small personal items past the Terok searches: a comb, a fabric handkerchief, even a silicone wristband. These became their tools. When the guards next brought their food, the humans were ready. As the protective barrier lowered to allow the nutrient trays through, Sunmi pretended to collapse, creating a distraction. In the confusion, Taiho and 2 others quickly wiped the collected items, now coated with their skin cells, oils, and bacteria, across the small opening. The next guard to touch the contaminated area reacted violently. Its exoskeleton began to discolor immediately, patches turning from healthy blue to sickly yellow. The Terok made a horrible screeching sound and staggered backward, thrashing in apparent pain. Alarms blared throughout the section. Emergency protocols activated, sealing the human containment area. Through the transparent walls, the crew could see Terok scientists rushing about in panic, many now wearing full protective gear. "I think we made our point," Jihai said grimly. Hours later, Krith appeared outside their cell, encased in a protective suit that made him look even more insect-like. His voice came through a translator. "Your biological attack has been noted and contained," he said, his mandibles clicking rapidly behind his mask. "This violation of basic interspecies protocols will be reported to your leaders before your world's submission is accepted." Jihi stepped forward, standing tall. "It wasn't an attack, Krith, it's just who we are. Humans evolved on a planet teeming with life. Microscopic life that lives on us, in us, and around us. We can't separate ourselves from it. It's part of us." "Impossible," Krith replied, but his body language betrayed uncertainty. "No advanced species would maintain such primitive biological associations." "That's where you're wrong," Teho joined in. "Our relationship with these microorganisms isn't primitive. It's sophisticated beyond anything you could engineer. Billions of years of co-evolution created a balance that protects us from threats, including, apparently, you." Krith's color shifted to a deep purple, a hue they hadn't seen before. "The invasion will proceed as planned. Your biological peculiarities will be addressed with appropriate countermeasures." After he left, Sunmi turned to the others. "Do you think Earth received our message? Will they be ready?" Jihai looked at the retreating forms of the Terok scientists, noting how their previously confident movements now seemed hesitant, almost fearful. "I think they'll be ready," she said quietly. "And I think the Teroks are about to learn that sometimes the best armor isn't what protects you from others. It's what makes others afraid to touch you in the first place." Back in her cell, Jihai scraped a small piece of metal from the food tray, carefully sharpening it against the hard floor. The Teroks had taken almost everything from them, but they couldn't take the invisible shield that each human carried. "Naturally, we're getting out of here," she told her crew. "And when we do, we're going to show these aliens exactly why they should have left humans alone." The mood across Earth had transformed from panic to determined preparation. 2 weeks had passed since Dr. Hyun Lee's discovery, and every manufacturing facility from Seoul to Sao Paulo had converted to producing what people now called bioweapons, though they weren't weapons in any traditional sense. Hyun walked through the converted pharmaceutical plant, watching as workers filled spray bottles with a cloudy liquid. The solution contained concentrated cultures of the 12 most effective bacterial strains from human skin, suspended in a nutrient medium that kept them viable. Production is at maximum capacity, the plant manager told her, having to raise his voice over the machinery. We're distributing to military units first, then civilian defense forces. And the personal application method? Ha-Un asked. The manager led her to another section, where different workers packaged small tubes of cream. The lotion base keeps the bacteria alive on the skin for up to 12 hours. One application and a person becomes a walking deterrent. General Yoon joined them, his uniform crisp despite the chaos of recent weeks. The first Terok ships have entered orbit. Our conventional weapons had no effect. Their shields absorbed everything from missiles to our most powerful lasers. Hyun nodded grimly. Then it's time for Plan B. Are the Bear Shield units ready? 3,000 volunteers in the first wave. They've been living in special conditions for the past week. No antibacterial soaps, no chemical deodorants, eating a special diet to enhance their natural microbiome. The general's face showed a mixture of disbelief and hope. I never thought I'd be telling soldiers to skip showers before battle. Hyun allowed herself a small smile. Sometimes the best solutions are the simplest ones. The Taroks evolved in a sterile environment. Their exoskeletons are designed to keep everything out. They have no natural defenses against Earth's microbial life. Alerts blared across their communication devices. The invasion had begun. The first Tarok landing crafts descended on a rural area outside of Busan. Military satellites tracked their movements as General Yoon and Ha-Un watched from the Yao command center. They're deploying ground forces, an officer reported. Estimated 300 Tarok soldiers in the first wave. General Yoon nodded to his communications officer. Send in the bear shields. On the ground, the human response units moved into position. Unlike traditional soldiers in body armor, these fighters wore minimal protective gear, lightweight coverings for vital areas only, leaving arms, faces, and much of their torsos exposed. Each carried spray devices loaded with the bacterial solution and close combat weapons designed for maximum skin contact. Min-Woo Park led one such unit. The former martial arts instructor had volunteered immediately when the call went out. His team of 20 moved silently through the trees, approaching the Tarok landing zone. Remember, he whispered to his team, they're expecting us to keep our distance. Do the opposite. Get close, make contact, retreat. Let our little friends do the rest. Through his binoculars, Min-Woo observed the alien soldiers forming precise formations. Even on Earth, they maintained their rigid military discipline. The Taroks moved with confident, almost arrogant postures, their weapons ready but not seeming particularly concerned. They still think their technology makes them invincible, Min-Woo told his second-in-command. They have no idea what's coming. He gave the signal, and his team spread out in their practiced formation. When the command came through their earpieces, they emerged from cover simultaneously and charged directly toward the Tarok lines. The aliens' reaction was immediate confusion. Based on their previous encounters with humans and the ineffectiveness of Earth weapons against their shields, they had expected long-range attacks or retreating forces. Instead, humans were running toward them, seemingly unprotected and armed with primitive weapons. The first line of Taroks raised their weapons, firing energy pulses that Min-Woo's team dodged with practiced skill. They had trained for weeks based on the limited data from Ji-Hai's crew about Tarok weapon capabilities. Then the humans were among them, and everything changed. Min-Woo slammed into the first Tarok soldier, his bare arm brushing against the alien's exoskeleton. The reaction was instantaneous. The area of contact discolored, and the Tarok emitted a high-pitched screech. Around him, his team engaged in similar close-quarters combat, each touch of human skin against Tarok exoskeleton resulting in the same reaction. The Tarok forces attempted to retreat, but the humans pursued relentlessly. Min-Woo's team used their spray devices, covering more aliens with the bacterial solution. Wherever the spray landed, the exoskeletons began to deteriorate. turning from their healthy blue-green to sickly yellow patches. "Perimeter secure," Minwoo shouted into his communicator. "The bacterial solution works even better than expected." Similar reports came in from around the landing zone. The first wave of Tarak invaders was in full retreat. Their carefully planned assault turned into chaos by an enemy whose very touch caused them pain. Back at command, General Yoon turned to Han with something like awe on his face. "It's working, they're actually retreating." Ha-Yoon watched the tactical displays, her scientific mind already analyzing the effectiveness of different bacterial strains based on the field reports. This is just the beginning. They'll adapt their strategy once they understand what's happening. "But can they counter it?" another officer asked. "Not easily," Ha-Yoon explained. "They could develop protective coatings for their exoskeletons, but that would take time and resources. And the bacteria are constantly evolving too, each new generation, adapting to be more effective against their targets." General Yoon's communicator beeped with an urgent message. His expression turned serious as he listened. "There's been a development. The Taroks have captured one of our Bear Shield units. They're studying our tactics." Ha-Yoon's mind raced. "Then, we need to escalate before they can develop countermeasures. It's time for Phase 2. Phase 2 had been her most controversial proposal, using civilian populations as part of Earth's defense, not as combatants, but as a protective biological shield around key infrastructure and cities. "You want to put civilians on the front lines?" General Yoon had objected when she first suggested it. "Not on the front lines," Ha-Yoon had explained. "But we need to create zones that are completely inhospitable to Tarok biology. Every human body is a deterrent. If we concentrate enough people in defensive formations around our vital areas, the Taroks won't be able to approach without suffering severe effects." Now, as the alien mothership moved into position above Seoul, that plan went into action. Civilians formed human chains around power plants, water treatment facilities, and government buildings. Each person had applied the bacterial cream and carried spray bottles of the solution. Reports from around the world showed similar scenes, humans standing together using their own biology as Earth's shield. The Tarok ground forces, faced with this unprecedented defense, found themselves unable to penetrate into major population centers. In the command center, a communications officer suddenly looked up from her station. "General, we're detecting an unauthorized transmission from the Tarok mothership directed at our frequencies." "Put it through," General Yoon ordered. The voice that came through the speakers was one Ha-Yoon didn't recognize, but the words sent a surge of hope through her. "This is Commander Ji-Hai Park of the research vessel Horizon. We've escaped containment and seized control of a communication array. The Taroks are in disarray. Whatever you're doing down there, keep it up. We're going to try to disable their command systems from inside." General Yoon leaned forward. "Commander Park, this is General Yoon. Earth forces are engaging the enemy using biological deterrents based on your transmission. We've turned our own microbiomes into weapons." A short laugh came through the speakers. "I knew Dr. Lee would figure it out. The Taroks are panicking up here. They never expected humans to be toxic to them." "Can you hold your position?" Ha-Yoon asked. "Not for long," Ji-Hai replied, her voice tense. "But we'll do as much damage as we can before they retake this section. Just keep defending Earth. Show them that humans aren't as soft as they thought." The transmission cut off abruptly, leaving the command center in silence. Ha-Yoon looked at the tactical displays showing Tarok forces retreating across multiple continents. "They're pulling back," General Yoon observed. "Regrouping." Ha-Yoon nodded. "They'll try again with new tactics. But now they know. Every human on this planet is a weapon against them, and we're just getting started." The massive Tarok command ship loomed in Earth's orbit like a dark moon, its surface rippling with iridescent patterns as it prepared for the final assault. 3 days had passed since the initial invasion, and the aliens had withdrawn to regroup after their unexpected defeat. Inside the ship, Ji-Hai and her crew had been recaptured after their brief takeover of the communications array, but not before. They'd caused significant damage to the Tarok command systems. Now they were being brought before the Tarok High Commander, a rare honor for inferior species, as their guards kept reminding them. The chamber they entered was vast, with curved walls that seemed to pulse with an inner light. In the center stood a Turok larger than any they'd seen before, its exoskeleton a deep purple with gold markings across its surface. "I am Supreme War Leader Rek," the massive Turok announced through its translator. "You will explain how your species has deployed biological weapons against the Empire." Jihai stepped forward, standing tall despite her exhaustion. "We've deployed no weapons. What you're experiencing is simply contact with human biology, something that exists on every one of us." Rek's mandibles clicked rapidly. Impossible. No species would evolve to harbor hostile microorganisms on their outer covering. "Not hostile to us," Teho explained from beside Jihai. "These bacteria are part of our natural defense system. They protect us from harmful pathogens. It's called a microbiome. Trillions of microorganisms living in harmony with our bodies." Krith, the science officer, moved forward. "Supreme War Leader, I have been studying these humans intensively. Their claims appear to be accurate. Every human carries approximately 1,000 different bacterial species on their skin alone. Our exoskeletons cannot withstand prolonged exposure to the compounds these organisms produce." Rek's colors shifted in what Jihi had learned indicated extreme agitation. "Then we will eliminate them from orbit. Planetary sterilization protocols will commence immediately." "That would be unwise," Jihai said calmly, though her heart raced. "Earth's bacteria aren't limited to human skin. They exist in our soil, our water, our air. They've had billions of years to evolve and adapt. Even if you killed every human, the bacteria would remain, waiting for your ground forces to land." She took a calculated risk, stepping closer to Rek, despite the guard's warnings. "And now that we understand your weakness, we've enhanced our natural defenses. Every human on Earth has become a weapon against you, not by choice, but by evolutionary design." On the main view screen behind Rek, images appeared of Earth's surface. The Turok's surveillance systems showed the human defense preparations. Millions of people surrounding critical infrastructure, each one a biological threat to the invaders. "Our final assault begins now," Rek declared, turning away dismissively. "Your primitive biological quirks will not save you from the Empire's technology." As Jihai and her crew were led away, Teho managed to whisper, "They're scared. Did you see Rek's coloration? They've never encountered a species they couldn't touch before." On Earth, Dr. Ha-Un Lee stood on the rooftop of the defense headquarters, watching the sky darken unnaturally as thousands of Turok dropships descended. This was the all-out assault they'd been preparing for, the Turoks committing their full invasion force rather than the probing attacks of previous days. "They're targeting major population centers," General Yoon reported through her earpiece. "Seoul, Tokyo, New York, London, Beijing. Simultaneous attacks on all continents." Ha-Un checked her tablet, reviewing the latest deployment maps. "Our Bear Shield units are in position, and the civilian defense networks?" "Fully mobilized. Over 2 billion people worldwide have applied the enhanced bacterial solutions. We're as ready as we can be." The first dropships appeared over the city, their alien designs looking like giant insects against the clouds. Ha-Un felt a moment of doubt. Could Earth's hastily assembled biological defense really stand against such advanced technology? Her tablet chimed with an incoming message from Minwoo Park, now commanding the Seoul Bear Shield Division. "The Turoks have developed protective suits. Our first contact team reports the bacteria can't penetrate their new armor." Ha-Un had anticipated this. "Implement Phase 3, she ordered. Across the city, and indeed around the world, the human defenders enacted their contingency plan. The Bear Shield units had been specially prepared for this moment. For the past 48 hours, they had been living in environments designed to cultivate the most aggressive and adaptive strains of human skin bacteria. Minwoo's team moved into position as the first Turok soldiers landed in their protective suits. Unlike previous engagements, the humans didn't charge immediately. Instead, they deployed a new weapon, pressurized canisters that released clouds of moisture into the air. "Aerosolized sweat and skin cells," Ha-Un explained to General Yoon. "Combined with the bacteria-rich solution, Their protective suits will filter out larger particles, but the microscopic ones will find a way through. No seal is perfect. The Turok advanced confidently at first, their new protective gear seemingly effective against casual contact. But minutes into the engagement, the first signs of trouble appeared. A Turok soldier stumbled, its movements becoming erratic. Then, another fell, clawing at the seams of its protective suit. The bacteria are penetrating their defenses, Minwoo reported. They're getting through the microscopic imperfections in the suit seams. Around the world, similar reports came in. The Turok protective measures were failing against the invisible onslaught of Earth's microbial life. In Seoul, the Bear Shield units pressed their advantage, moving closer to the struggling aliens and releasing more of the bacterial clouds. The Turok forces began a disorganized retreat, abandoning their carefully planned assault in the face of an enemy they couldn't touch, couldn't fight, and couldn't escape. On the command ship, alarms blared as reports of ground force failures poured in from all invasion sites. Ji-hai and her crew, still under guard but no longer restrained, exchanged hopeful glances. Krith burst into their holding area, his colors shifting wildly between distress patterns. Your bacterial defense, it's penetrating our protective suits. Of course it is, Taeho replied. Bacteria have been evolving for billions of years to find ways through barriers. They're the most successful life forms on our planet. Supreme War Leader Rek demands to speak with you, Krith said to Ji-hai. The invasion is failing. Our soldiers are dying. Ji-hee was brought back to the command chamber where Rek's once imposing figure now seemed diminished. The massive Turok's exoskeleton showed patches of discoloration, signs of the bacterial infection spreading even to the command ship. Your species, Rek began, his translator struggling to convey the complex emotions in his clicking speech. You are not what we thought. No, Ji-hai agreed. We're not. Our scans showed no technology capable of resisting our weapons, no armor that could withstand our attacks. We believed your soft exteriors made you vulnerable. You were looking for the wrong kind of armor, Ji-hai said. Humans evolve differently than Turoks. We don't have exoskeletons because we developed something better. A relationship with microscopic life that protects us in ways you can't see. Rek's colors shifted to a deep blue, a sign of decision-making. The invasion is terminated. The Empire will withdraw from your system. Just like that? Ji-hai asked, suspicious. The Empire has conquered thousands of worlds, Commander Park. But never have we encountered a species whose very existence is toxic to ours. To continue this invasion would mean extinction for my people. Hours later, as the Turok fleet prepared to depart Earth's orbit, Ji-hai stood with her reunited crew on the observation deck. They had been released as part of the withdrawal agreement, though Rek had insisted on one condition. A quarantine zone will be established around your solar system, the Turok leader had declared. No Turok ship will enter this region again. Your species will be classified as a biological hazard of the highest order. Now, watching Earth grow larger in the view screen as their shuttle descended home, Ji-hai felt a mixture of relief and wonder. They came looking for weakness and found strength instead, Taeho said quietly. They never understood that sometimes the best armor isn't what you can see. The shuttle broke through the atmosphere, revealing the sprawling cityscape below. Lights twinkled across the landscape. A planet still intact, still human, saved not by advanced technology or powerful weapons, but by the invisible shield every person carried with them. Dr. Ha-eun and General Yoon were waiting when they landed, along with a crowd of cheering people. As Ji-hai stepped onto Earth's soil for the first time in months, Ha-eun embraced her. Your message saved us all, the scientist said. You gave us the key to defeating them. Ji-hai looked at the celebrating crowds, humans hugging, touching, sharing the very biology that had proven to be Earth's most effective defense. No, she replied with a smile. We've been carrying the solution with us all along. For millions of years, we evolved alongside these tiny allies. She touched her own arm. This was always our armor. We just never knew it until now. In the days that followed, humanity began to look at itself differently. The microorganisms that many had once considered unclean or unwanted were now recognized as essential partners in the planet's defense. Earth's first contact with alien life had revealed not human weakness but unexpected strength, the most surprising armor imaginable, worn not on the body, but as part of it. And far away, across the stars, the Terok Empire adjusted its maps, marking one small solar system with a special designation, the system where living beings were their own armor, and where the softest creatures had proven to be the most dangerous of all.